Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Believe in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm Trevor Thompson, glad to have you along for this week's edition. And if you've been following the show over the last several weeks, you know that I've gone across the NFC North and brought in my counterparts across the division to talk about what their teams are bringing to the table this year as we all compete for the NFC North title and a Super Bowl championship. So with training camp set to open, I've gathered these guys back together to talk about who has the best talent in the division and ultimately the best team, as we'll break things down from the skill position, the head coaching, and the team overall to get that done. So let's recap who we had over the last several weeks and who's joining us here today. And we'll start in Green Bay with the Green Bay Hall of Famer, the team's all-time leading rusher and the host of Believe in Packers. Ahman Green is back with us on the show. Really appreciate the time, Aman. Thank you very much. And let's go to Chicago. Last year's division winners are back, and they're going to be back with a vengeance. Former Lions head coach Ben Johnson at the helm. The host of the wildly successful YouTube channel and co-founder of that channel, The Recap, Ryan McGuffey, is back with us as well. And last but not least, the guy heading things up in Minnesota, the host of the Purple Insider, and the guy who I am basing the premise on this show on, Matthew Coller, joins us as well. And I say I'm basing this on Matthew's idea that when I was on with him, guys, he had this question he posed to me, and it was, talk me into. You guys are going to try and talk me into the fact that you believe there's anybody better than the Detroit Lions at the skill positions, at head coach, and in the trenches across this division, and can ultimately overtake the Detroit Lions, who are trying to win this division for the third time in the last 4 years. So you're going to have to try and talk me into who's better than the Lions. And let's start in the trenches, because another part of this is all about that ESPN poll that came out, and that they polled executives, coaches, and scouts. So not talking heads like us. Well, Amon's not a talking head. He's a real life player. But they're not just talking heads, but the guys who are just in charge of making the decisions and really assessing the talent across this league. And when they finished that poll, the Detroit Lions came away with the most elite talent in the NFL. 9 players at the position in the top 10 across the league. So let's start in the trenches, because that's really where football is won and lost, and the O-line. And I'm going to start with Penei Sewell, the number one offensive tackle in the NFL, as judged by those guys in that ESPN poll. It all starts with this guy. Their line is more experienced. Their line now has depth. They're recovering after finally putting things together after losing Frank Ragnow, and I think they do have it together. They drafted Blake Miller. Tate Ratledge is in his second year, so he's got some experience under his belt. This line is going to come together and ultimately be the best offensive line in the NFL. And Ryan, I know firsthand you guys are really thinking that you got something going there in Chicago because you won the division last year and showed a little offense, but I don't think your offensive line is going to get it done. I'm going to start with the Lions as being the best offensive line. If you can talk me into something other than that, go for it.
I'm not going to talk you into anybody being better than Sewell, but like the Bears' offensive line was a big reason for their success last year. I mean, it kept Caleb upright. They were a top 3 rushing team in the league. The sudden retirement of Drew Dahlman is a thing. Like, let's not forget that. Garrett Bradbury comes over in a trade from the Patriots. The Bears draft Logan Jones. Darnell Wright's a dude at right tackle. And, of course, Joe Thuney's the best guard in the division. I'm not like, come on. Like, it's Joe Thuney is the best guard. But I'm not going to poo-poo the Lions' offensive line. I'm not. I love lists because the Lions come away with the most talent, but I look at if we're basing this off of last year's record, how's that look for everybody on this podcast? So, rankings are fun.
Facts. I like that. I like facts.
Rankings are fun. And, Ahman will be the first to tell you that I'm sure there's a lot of times when running backs were being ranked and he was sitting there lower than he wanted to be and just had to go out and prove it year in and year out. I loved him from Chicago, and I can't stand that because he played for Green Bay. But, yeah, the Lions' offensive line, strong. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Bears are really that much weaker from a unit. I think they did a really good job last year of building from the trenches, and that comes with Ben Johnson coming from Detroit, knowing that the Lions built their success from the inside out.
I don't know if there's another O-line that can really compete with either of those two. And like you say, like the Lions found out, when you lose your center, you're really scrambling from that point on. So I think that's going to be a setback. And I think overall there's going to be a reset in Chicago, and they're going to be humbled a little bit. So, yeah, they finished ahead of everybody else in the division last year, but repeating's tough. It's really tough. Anybody else want to make a claim for their O-line right here?
I'll give it a shot. And you know what?
You give it a shot. That doesn't sound very confident, Matthew.
Well, here's why. Because they couldn't stay healthy last year. But I noticed that Trevor never says the last place Detroit Lions were ranked really highly.
Thank you.
I said the team is looking for its third division title in the last 4 years. Detroit Lions is
right to all the offseason ranking accolades and not to the actual record. No, but I actually think that the Vikings do have a case for this if they could stay healthy. Christian Darrisaw was nowhere near 100% last year, and there were games where he was trying to come back from his ACL and couldn't finish the game, but he's had an entire offseason to get back and healthy. And if he plays at his highest level, he is one of the elite left tackles in the NFL. And unlike Penei Sewell has always been a left tackle, by the way. But the rest of the line, Donovan Jackson, first-round draft pick, really great first impression from him last year. They are moving a guard to center, which does create a big question. There's no doubt about that. But on the other side of the line, Brian O'Neill, top-notch Pro Bowl right tackle, and Will Fries last year was also coming back from an injury, and I think that hurt his overall production, but was given $18 million a year for a reason. So I think if this line comes together, and they do have a little more depth, they drafted Caleb Tiernan in the 3rd round. They also got Ryan Vandermark from the Buffalo Bills as a swing tackle. And I think we all agree that depth is probably the most underrated thing. Depth on the offensive line, the most underrated thing in the entire NFL. It's never talked about by anybody, but your O-line 6, your O-line 7, those guys end up playing most of the time. So they made a big jump there. And just when it comes to, Detroit and Chicago, those centers, like losing the centers over the last couple of years are a big deal. Frank Ragnow's from Minnesota, so that's how he learned to be so good at playing center. But truly, they were not the same when they played Brian Flores defense when they did not have Frank Ragnow. And I don't know if Cade Mays is going to be able to step in and be as good or anywhere near as good as Frank Ragnow was. So I think a fully healthy Minnesota Vikings offensive line can compete with the other O-lines in the division. If they have some interior injuries or if their new center, Blake Brandel, has trouble switching over and changing positions, then it will not be an elite offensive line. But I think the other 4 linemen, when healthy, can make a case for that.
Aman, you guys return the exact same O-line. No missing pieces there in Green Bay. However, it wasn't the best O-line last year. So I don't know how they're going to elevate to the top. Maybe the continuity helps. What are your thoughts?
I say maybe the continuity kind of grows together in this offseason for them, being young. I mean, you had Sean Ryan, who was a guy that was in that transition position. He was a tackle to guard, and hey, can you play center real quick? It's like, wow. I was like, wait a minute, I thought he was a edge guy at UCLA, knowing that he switched over. So one, it's a good thing for him career-wise because now he has another tool under his belt. But from I say a standpoint of building that offensive line, a lot of injuries. I say really it was just injuries. Looking at last season for this O-line, they played a lot with injuries. Zach Tom was out there half speed most of the time because of the back injury. And then you had Banks with his injury down. All guys that got brought in the offseason last year, the previous year, but it's a health factor, for this Packer line to be the best, I'll say right now, they're probably middle of the pack only because of injuries, not because of talent. I mean, and that's where you could talk about all the way around for every team in the NFL and especially teams in this division, because I know last season and a little bit of season before in 2024, the Lions was a team that was beat up. They were physically had players offensively and defensively. That's when the Russian, I can't think of the name right now, was out with the broke leg, and then other injuries.
Yeah, Aidan Hutchinson.
Aidan Hutchinson, out for the year, I believe 2024, 2025, and then just injuries that just kind of stacked up throughout the season. And then once the playoffs came, they weren't there very long because of that. And so that's one thing I know. For football, being a former player, biggest thing is who is healthy and who's available from the start to the finish of the season, because that's really what you're fighting for. Being physical like the Lions are is good because they set a tone early in the game. They let the other team know, hey, and the Bears too, because Ben has came over and brought that same mentality, which I like, which is going to keep them in the edge and ahead of everybody in the division. Just knowing the fact that what happened last year to the offensive line in Green Bay is just, health factor. You can't control it. You just got to roll with it and make sure. I think Ryan or Matthew both hit it, is next man up. Who that sixth and seventh and eighth man off the bench, making sure they have that experience is going to be priority number one for the Packers, especially what they went through last year.
Good points, but I don't know that any of you talked me into the fact that anybody is better than the Detroit Lions right now. But what I do hear
I'll say this, Trevor.
There are a lot of question marks across the division on the O-line.
No, I didn't have a whole lot to state. Mine was just stating facts, because I know right now, man to man, like, they have a better line. I will admit that because of that. Of the health factor right now. They got guys, they got dudes, Penei Sewell. To see him, I remember his rookie year, and I saw him do things. I was like, oh my God, did I just see him pull around? And I remember my one year I did a coaching internship with the Packers, and seeing Josh, God damn it, I can't think of his last name right now, but he was a guard, and I saw him come around on a power block. Josh Sitton. Come around on a power block where he had to jump over a D lineman who got thrown in his path, and he jumped over that and then pirouetted into his block. And I'm like, oh my goodness. When you see big guys move like little dudes, and I'll say one quick example too at the end, and I'll shut up. Mike Wall, when I got to Green Bay, my right guard, we were playing horse during the offseason, and I'm thinking I'm gonna do a 360 dunk in this horse game, because he was on S. And no, he went up and he copied this 360 dunk for behind me. And I'm like, oh my God, I got a problem here. Well, he's on my team, so I'm happy. So when you have athletes like that can also run, that's all their job is, to run block. Oh, that's a problem for defenders throughout the year. Just long as the health factor is on their side throughout the season.
I mean, Ben had Penei Sewell going out for passes, for God's sakes.
Yes.
That tells you
that tells you a whole lot.
That tells you a lot. I will say this, Trevor. I'll put the Bears 4 outside of left tackle, which we know how valuable left tackle is. The Bears that's going to be a question mark. You don't want that to be a question mark, but I think the Bears from the guards, the interior line, best in the league, or best in the division for sure. I think Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney are as good as it gets, and Darnell Wright's developed into a Pro Bowl right tackle. So 3 of their 5, I think, are studs, and then the center is going to be a big hole, a big question mark. I don't think it's going to be a hole or a big concern, but left tackle, that's something to look for in Chicago.
And if we're doing tackle as the most important position, the best tackle combination would be in Minnesota, because you have no idea what Blake Miller is going to be right away. Right. I mean, I think they tried to draft someone who had a lot of experience and was maybe the most NFL ready, but Brian O'Neill at right tackle is a multi-time Pro Bowler. So that might be a little bit different there. And I mean, I don't know what you think, but moving from right tackle to left tackle, I think it is at least somewhat of a question of how that's going to work out for Penei Sewell.
But as they just pointed out, the guy is one hell of an athlete, and I think he's going to find a way to get it done. It won't be much of a problem, and they've got some continuity. So since you guys are losing your center, and you're going to have to figure that out, Ryan, I'm still going to give the nod to the Lions and the number one tackle in football, Penei Sewell. So we'll see how it all rolls out. Let's move on to the D-line right now. Right. And listen to this. Aidan Hutchinson, we just talked about him, ranked number 5 in the ESPN poll.
Problem.
But if you go across this D-line, Aidan Hutchinson, 6'7", 268. Aleem McNeil, who's back in a year off of an ACL surgery. He's a top 10 guy at his position, when healthy, I think, regardless of what the voters say, but 6'2", 310. Tyleik Williams in his second year comes in at 6'3", 235, 325. DJ Woolman, former Viking, coming in at 6'5", 262. Then they drafted Derek Moore, who's 6'3", 260. Payton Turner, who's going to be a support player, 6'6", 270. Tyler Lacey, 6'4", 300 pounds. These guys are huge on this D-line here in Detroit. They've got a lot of athleticism, and I think in the second year now, Calvin Shepard's going to find a way to run these guys in different schemes. He might run different packages with his linebackers as well. That's going to really affect the way that teams can attack and what they can throw at teams on that D-line. And with Aidan Hutchinson being healthy and Micah Parsons not being healthy down there in Green Bay, Aman, I've got to give the nod on the D-line right now to this group here in Detroit. Anybody feel free to talk me out of it.
Well, I'll say right now, I'm not worried about Micah not starting the season. Okay. If I'm was it Gutekunst, if I'm Gannon, you know what? December, no problem. See you then. Come do work then. Because when we know he's on the field and he's 100% healthy, and if you saw his comments during OTAs, that's all he's banked on. I want to come back ready to play football. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to go off somebody else's clock. This is my body. I know my body. And that training staff in Green Bay, it's a staff where the head guy now was assistant back when I was there, and now he runs the program. So he's brought some of the best trainers, kept some of the guys, in-house that always keeps those guys on the football field. So that's one little gem, I say hack, if we're talking about training staffs, if any around here, probably top in the league. So shout out to my boy Brian Ego and crew there. So with that being said, once I say you check back in with me come fall, come late fall, right after, I'll say right before Thanksgiving, where I say, you know what, Micah's on the field, where it brings another dynamic. He brings a problem where offensive lines are restructuring, or offensive coordinators are game planning different when Micah's out there. Other than that, right now, with the guys out there defensively, we know, Javon Hargrave has experience. That's what I look for. Between Wyatt, Hargrave, Lucas Van Ness still trying to come out of his shell, I believe. And this has got to be the year he got to, for him internally, he has to find himself and be like, all right, I got to be that dude that got drafted out of Iowa. I want to bring that present because he has the size. You just mentioned what's there in Detroit defensively. So does Lucas. He could bring that. Adrian Cooper coming in and getting like a linebacker like Zaire Franklin brings in another ability and then a more experience because he's been around the block a few times. So outside of that injury, this team looking defensive line, I'm looking at, probably I'll put them at number 2. And I like that because, hey, they could always come up on somebody. Never know. So there you go.
Our first sponsors at FanDuel have Aidan Hutchinson. He's got the third best odds as being the defensive player of the year behind Miles Garrett and Will Anderson Jr. So Micah Parsons not even in the top 3 right there. He's down at 5th because of where
Micah's
he's at 5th.
Oh, he's at 5th? Okay.
Yeah,
where's Micah on that list? Because I would put a flyer on him, only playing 10 games. I really would.
Correct. I would too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to doubt the guy's talent, what he brings to the table, and he's certainly a game changer when he's on the field. But in this division, right now, the Packers, the over and under for their win total, Aman, is, according to FanDuel, 10.5, same as the Lions. But if they don't get out of the gates, I'm taking the under on that right now. And if with that guy not on the field for maybe the first half of the season, a strong start is questionable. So he's a game changer. But you can only change the game when you're playing. Your best ability is availability. He's not available. So the edge on the line and the edge to the voting as far as Defensive Player of the Year out of the gates is going to Aidan Hutchinson in my books. Look like you want to say something, Ryan, so jump right in.
This is one position that I really have nothing to stand on. I mean, this is the one weakness the Bears had last year, and they really did nothing in the offseason to acknowledge it or address it. They hung around the Max Crosby sweepstakes. We all know how that turned out. He's back in Vegas, maybe the trade deadline, something. But the Bears ranked 31st in pass rush win rate at 29% and 29th in pressure percentage. And they're going to roll the same guys out there. Austin Booker, I think, has the ability to be a guy. He plays rather undisciplined, but he's going to be part of a rotation. Dayo Odingbo was not on the field last year, and when he wasn't productive. Gervon Dexter, the same thing from the interior line. You have Grady Jarrett, who's getting up there in age. And, of course, Montez Sweat. I think Montez Sweat. Yeah, Montez Sweat has potential, but, Aman, I think if you had another guy on the other side, it would unlock that potential a little bit more. Because if you're Green Bay, if you're Minnesota, if you're Detroit right now, and you're looking at that defensive line, you're basically asking the other guys not named Montez Sweat to beat you. And right now, those guys haven't proven to do so. So in this division going into it, I'm ranking the Bears 4th in this group. Not something you'd like to do. I mean, we all know success is built from the inside out. The Bears are going with team speed, and we're going to get to other position groups. They're kind of built their defense from the outside in. So I'm really curious to see how that works in 2026, because from a speed standpoint, their back 7 is probably as fast as anybody, certainly in the division, if not the league. But in this case, we know that battles are won in the trenches, especially in the playoffs. So I'm really curious to see if somebody in the Bears defensive line steps up, because it's a unit that it's the biggest question mark for the Chicago Bears in 2026 going into the season.
Yeah, Ryan, when your general manager comes out and says, I guess we'll just have to cover for another second, and you're like, I don't think you can rank yourself anywhere other than fourth. I will say this about the Vikings defensive line is that there are a lot of question marks, but there's a lot of high-end potential there. I mean, we know Andrew Van Ginkel is maybe the most unique defensive player in the NFL, second-team All-Pro in 2024.
I love
was
the
great last year, super dynamic player.
And hair. He's a hair guy, right?
He's the hair guy, yes.
I like him. Yes.
Perfect for Minnesota.
That's
right?
AJ Hawk, my old teammate, and then off the clay too. I was like, I like these dudes. They know how to ball out.
Exactly. And so, he could get pick sixes or he could be a double-digit sack guy. So he's got a ton of talent over there. On the other side, Dallas Turner is a first-round draft pick who led them in sacks last year and is now, because they traded Jonathan Grenard, getting a chance to take another step. And if you remember in that 2024 draft, it was kind of weird. There were 6 quarterbacks taken, but he was considered by a lot of people as maybe the best defensive prospect in that draft. So we've seen a slow progression from him, but maybe now ready to take the next step. Now, that doesn't mean they deserve the argument for being at the top, but if it clicks for him, then they could have a better case for it. And then on the interior, drafting Caleb Banks, who was the most physically impressive defensive tackle coming out in the draft. But again, more questions of, is he going to become Gervin Dexter, who's just a large guy who only occasionally flashes, or is he going to be Chris Jones and he completely dominates on the defensive line? We really don't know that, but there's kind of an upside for Minnesota that if everything falls into place, they could have one of the best defensive lines in the division. And also, I would say, too, they have the most underrated player in the division named Jalen Redmond, who was a top 15 by PFF defensive tackle last year, but not a lot of fanfare because the Vikings, had such bad quarterback play that no one was paying attention to their best defensive tackle. But I think they've got a case that if the young players click quickly, that they could be pretty darn good.
Yeah, so what you're saying is the Vikings offense got to score points to help the defense out, basically.
Yes, which
yes,
they did not do last year. They did not do it all.
I know that world playing against the Buccaneers in 2002. It was like, what the hell is going on? We can't move the ball, but we not scoring points. What is going on? So definitely know what you're talking about there, Matthew.
So Matthew's hoping on some ifs. Ryan has already conceded, and without Micah Parsons, I think we're all in agreement.
That's what I said. I said number 2. I said
coming out of the gates, the Lions have the best line.
I got to be real. Can't be.
Yeah, okay. And we're being real here.
No,
I know this
injuries change everything. They're a great equalizer.
I know this is believe in Lions, but I like that Trevor gets the last word and says, "No one's convinced me otherwise." The Lions have win this.
Well, so far you guys are 0 for 2. I do have to say that. But let's get to the quarterback play. Matthew's already admitted his team's out of it right now. But when we did the show with Ryan, we did the show with you, Aman, both of you guys really big on your quarterbacks. However, over the last 3 years, no team in the NFL has gained more yardage. No team in the NFL has scored more points than the Detroit Lions, led by Jared Goff under center, ranked number 10 in the quarterback rankings as far as that ESPN poll is concerned. I think he deserves to be higher. He doesn't scramble like some of your guys do, but he's got a big arm. He's very patient. He doesn't throw a lot of picks, and he's got weapons galore, and he knows how to exploit them. You got to be able to do that. I think he can do that at the quarterback position. I've got him ranked as the number 1 quarterback in the division. You guys have at it if you want to talk me into somebody else.
This is a fun one.
I'll let you go first.
I know you. Yeah. I know it's going to be a fun one here. This is where it starts getting a little saucy.
All right, so here's my. I wish JJ was better because this would be so much more fun if we had all 4 of us.
Yeah, true. Very true.
But I break this down into 3 different buckets, and Jared definitely from a consistency standpoint, like veteran leadership, etc. I would take that. If there's 2 minutes left in the game, I'm taking Caleb Williams every single day. It's not even a debate. I think we saw that last year. And if I'm looking for a guy to do more with less, it's probably Jordan Love. So this thing is really hard to decipher because we're all going to be in love with our guy. And I'm going to pick Caleb because of his ability to the wow factor. And the wow factor doesn't always win games because sometimes you're going to look at completion percentage and say, well, the guy misses a lot of balls he should make. I think we're going to see that elevate a little bit in 2026. I know last year Caleb's goal was 70% completion, 4,000 yards. I think he had 58% completion. I think he needs to live in the 63% world to really be the quarterback to be a more complete quarterback. I don't think we'll ever see Caleb Williams be in that 68 to 70%. I don't like Jordan Love, like Jared Goff. That's not who he is. His ability for the home run ball, his ability to scramble and do things that maybe only Patrick Mahomes can do is going to bring down that completion percentage. From an athletic standpoint, I think Caleb, it's funny that 12 months ago, if we were talking about Caleb Williams, it would be a lot different than if we were talking about him right now. The opinion on him, bust, all of those things were being put on him. And then when you have great coaching, like I think what we saw from the hiring of Ben Johnson in Chicago showed you how important coaching matters to that position, because Ben Johnson got a very coachable quarterback that he put through the ringer, that he wanted him to fail 1,000 times before he succeeded once. And now I think you have Caleb Williams expecting to be great. Wanting to be great and expecting greatness, Aman, you could probably talk to this better than any of the four of us, are two different things. And when you can reach that in both of them, the sky's the limit. So if I were taking a quarterback going forward and everything was equal, I'm taking Caleb Williams. If I'm taking a quarterback today in this division, I'll lean on Jared Goff, but I'm really happy Caleb Williams is in Chicago. So I didn't give you an answer, but I think I led you to kind of where I'm going.
Yeah,
but
you did.
But if the Lions and Bears are tied with 20-20 with 2 minutes to go in a game, Trevor, call me up, baby, because I'm going with Caleb Williams.
Hey, Ryan, FanDuel has these odds on these guys in their yards coming into the season. So Jared Goff, the odds on the over-under are 4,050. Caleb Williams, your guy, the odds are set at the over-under set at 3,575. And Aman, for your guy, Jordan Love, 3,525 yards of the over-under. I don't know what you guys are going to go over-under on that, and I'll let you guys have a rip. Over?
3,500 yards for both of those guys? That tells me that
3,500 yards over-under, yep.
That tells me that they expect both of them not to play a full season. How the hell are they getting 3,500 yards?
Yeah, it's probably being, what's it?
You have to take that up with FanDuel.
Yeah.
I don't make the odds because I don't bet.
Being safe.
But Aman, I know that
that's what they're doing. They're being safe there.
Yeah, they're being safe, and I think they're going to lose a lot of money on the over on that as far as that is concerned. But Aman, when we had our show, you were really big on your guy down there in Green Bay.
Yeah, because I think Ryan said it. He's playing with a lot less, and he's getting production. And so when you have that is important, because I know now as a quarterback, my guys are going to do whatever they need to get that ball in their hands. They're going to fight for the ball, from the defender to getting off the line, to even fighting in the wide receiver tight end room, saying who is going to be the best, who's going to be number one on that roster, and making sure those receivers are doing that. And it's been, I know for Green Bay for the last 6-7 years, it's been a young crew. You had guys that hadn't had a ton of experience between regular season and playoffs. So knowing that they did what they did with Jordan coming in, then from Wicks to Dobbs to Reed to Tucker, oh man, they got a good crew. Obviously, again, for myself, I can't wait till Tucker comes back, even though he's not the wideout that we're looking for, but he's a tight end and he's a utility that can do a lot. What's that?
I say we'll get to him in a minute.
He does a lot of. He's a guy who does a lot of things athletically out there on the football field. Watson, healthy last year. You saw the difference between when he actually was on the field, not beat up, and then being out there. He is the biggest thing off the top, and it's nothing that you can't hide. He's over the top guy. He's going to take you when the game plan is going for the Packer offense. If you're not paying attention, number 9 is going to go. LaFleur going to call the play to make sure they go test that defense, making sure they secure it with two guys deep over top. Because if he doesn't have at least 2 guys deep over top, he's going to beat that one defender, with his speed. So that right there for me is something where when you don't have a ton of talent, but then that talent shows up, then that's a point for me as a quarterback. I got guys that are willing to go out there, hell or high water, and catch the ball. And so what I know in Detroit, they got a lot. They do have speed at the wide receiver with Williams. I understand that. But when you have other guys that are willing to put in the fight and put in the effort, that's where you got a wide receiver core. And then I throw in tight ends in the wide receiver core too. So then you got a tight end like Tucker that's going to come back. I know he's going to be pissed off because I know him personally. We've done a lot of events together since he got to Green Bay. And he's kind of built like me in my head, where if I'm going to get better, I'm going to make sure I'm 100%. And when I come back, it's going to be hell to pay, because I was hurt for a year. I missed out. Now I can't. I got to get back into the party. I want to be over there, doing the tush push, catching or doing the reverse to the tight end, and all the stuff he could do physically out there. So that's going to be the fun thing to watch with this core of guys. And I put them at number one in this division. That's how the confidence I feel. If I'm Jordan Love as a quarterback, looking at what I did last year, with injuries with the offensive line, that we could push forward this year, and then looking at OTAs, I'm pretty sure it went good. That's my push for here.
Matthew? We'll wait another day. We'll wait another day to talk quarterbacks with you.
I'll just throw out a quick thing. Other than J.J. McCarthy, anyone who has thrown the football to Justin Jefferson during his career has performed like an MVP. Like, when targeting Justin Jefferson, the passer rating for anyone throwing him the football was over 109. So I know that McCarthy struggled with that last year, but Kyler Murray has not had an elite wide receiver or anything close since DeAndre Hopkins. And when he had DeAndre Hopkins, he performed at a very, very high level. So there is that. I mean, I know that Trey McBride is an elite tight end, but he hasn't had
drafted Marvin Harrison 3 overall. I mean, he's had. But
have you seen Marvin Harrison? I mean, he has not been. He has not
He's
been
not
anywhere
his dad.
close.
He's not his dad.
Anywhere close to what DeAndre Hopkins was. So Kyler in 2024 was a top 15 quarterback. And if you put him in with this group of weapons, which may be the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL, it's possible that he could have a Sam Darnold-like season. That's all I can say. I'm not saying he's better than Jared Goff, Jordan Love, or Caleb Williams right now, but it's possible that in this system and this setup that we could see the best version that we've ever seen from Kyler Murray.
The only thing that scares me about Minnesota in this category is Kevin O'Connell. I mean, that
exactly.
guy.
I agree with that.
That guy has turned, whether you want to make up Sam Darnold.
He's playing without a lot.
He's playing without the most important position in the game and winning. So that's the only thing.
I'll toss
what
a little
players do, bro. That's what former players do.
I'll toss a little stat at you guys that when either Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold was the quarterback, Kevin O'Connell is 31-11 when that has happened. So when he's had a veteran quarterback who could do everything he needed to do, he's had a lot of success. It's the other coaches in the division have not had 8 different starting quarterbacks since 2022 like Kevin O'Connell has.
We've had 40 since 2000. So, I don't want to hear
vouch for that one.
Recent history. I'm talking recent history.
Yeah, I can vouch for
Ahman
that
played
one.
against 20 of them.
Potentially, that he might be right.
No Chad Hutchinson disrespect here on this podcast. He once beat the Vikings as the Bears quarterback.
Oh, my goodness.
So Ryan's going to wait to the last minute of the football game to utilize his quarterback. Aman is hoping that his quarterback gets more to work with. So I think going into training camp,
he does have more to work with, because these guys got
can't all agree
now.
that Jared Goff is the guy they're all chasing right now. Are we in agreement?
We'll just see. What is it? Week 3? When do the Bears play? Or was it Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. Thanks. Can't wait for that. We've got a little thing going
October
on.
11th. I'm gonna be in
you
the
and I do,
seats.
Ryan.
I'm ordering my tickets now for that game. I can't wait to see this game.
Okay, so here's where we get a little even more hotly contested. Now that we've checked our QB off, the wide receiver spot. This is where Matthew was licking his chops.
I get to play.
But
Right.
to your point, he has to have a quarterback that can get him the ball. Justin Jefferson is one of the elite talents across the board at any position in this league.
Yes.
Amon-Ra St. Brown ranked number 5 in the ESPN rankings. He just continues to grow his game as well. Great groups of receivers in both towns. You guys have some great talent in Chicago, and they're changing up the receiver room in Green Bay, Aman, but they've got some great talent as well. I'm going to go with my guy here in Detroit right now because he's got a quarterback that can get him the ball. But that's where I'm going to leave this, and then you guys can get the rest of the meat on that bone.
Yeah, I don't know, Trevor, if you're going to be able to say when I'm done talking, you know what, I still think the Lions are better. I think this one, the Vikings and their talent have you. Now, again, I'll go back to when a veteran quarterback has played with these guys, they've had a ton of success. And no one has more receiving yards in NFL history through this point in their career than Justin Jefferson. He is the most unstoppable wide receiver in the entire NFL.
I just say Buffalo.
Dude couldn't
That's
go.
all I say. Buffalo, I think it was late
2022.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
Yes, I was there for that, and am still in disbelief of that. It's the contested catches, it's the route running, it's the speed, the size, yards after catch. I mean, he is really the complete package as a wide receiver, and it speaks to J.J. McCarthy that he could not get him the football. But even when you just watch back the tape, the route running, where he was on the field, it should have been a big season for J.J. McCarthy because he was open all the time, as he often is, and has the perfect head coach to understand how to still work him down the football field with the fact that everybody tries to double team him and bracket him and all the different things. But O'Connell has always found ways to get him open. Jordan Addison needs to have a bounce back season, but over his first 2 years, he had 19 touchdown catches. Again, when catching the ball from Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, who are really good quarterbacks, but I don't think that they're wildly better than the best version of Kyler Murray so far in his career. And then Juwan Jennings is one of the most underappreciated players in the NFL over the last couple of years. 132 receptions over the last 2 seasons for Juwan Jennings. That's in the top 20 in the NFL. And he has an argument for being the best run blocking wide receiver in the league as well. TJ Hawkinson, if we're counting tight ends, this is where it's an unreal division. I would say Hawkinson is 4 out of 4. I would go with the other 3 tight ends ahead of him. But I also think at his peak, he's been a Pro Bowl caliber player as well. And again, last year, they just could not get J.J. McCarthy to deliver the football to anyone. And even then, I will throw in their number 2 tight end because they're so deep. Josh Oliver, top-notch run blocking tight end who's caught a handful of passes. So I think this is the best and most complete group of weapons. And if there's any argument for Kyler Murray, if Kyler Murray is going to prove that he can be a winning starting quarterback, it's going to be here with these people. And I agree with you, Ryan, that the coaching when it comes to the passing game has been really terrific over Kevin O'Connell's bigger sample size here, excluding what happened last year when the quarterback could not execute it.
Very true.
Trevor, come on.
I was going to give someone else an opportunity.
Trevor's
I'm not going to go against Justin
one.
Jefferson as the talent at that position in this division. I'm not going to go against it. ESPN had him ranked in number 2 in the expert poll. The guy can go. He can flat out go. He's fun to watch. He brings you out of your seat. He's the type of guy we talk about who you'll pay to go see play. He's that type of guy. Love him. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is no slouch. He's a great player in his own right. He's only getting better. But if I'm picking a guy and they're both on the board right now, I'm picking Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, the Bears core is maybe the most intriguing when you're looking forward. Big year for Rome Odunze. He's got to prove that he's got to. Me too. Got to prove you're the number 9 overall though. Year 3, big year. Obviously, DJ Moore traded to Buffalo, but when you look at the entire unit, Luther Burden, there's a lot of when Ben Johnson openly says at a press conference, "I'm buying stock in Luther Burden," my ears perk up, and I immediately look at stock prices because that's something. I think he's 60-1 to lead the NFL in receiving yards. If you're looking for like a fun flyer, that I'm not saying he's going to lead the NFL, but I think he ran the 2nd or 3rd most yards per route in the NFL last year. This is a guy that's got a ton of talent and could be one of those 2nd-round steals you look at later down the road. But I can't sit here and pretend that the Chicago Bears receiving core right now has anyone close to JJ, anyone close to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just can't. They probably line up more with Green Bay, which has a lot of promise. I mean, when you look at the potential of Rome and Luther as a twosome going forward, that's really scary. And I think Colston Loveland, I really believe this, will be a top 2 or 3 tight end in the NFL going forward. He led the Bears in receiving yards last year. Caleb Williams' quarterback rating when he targeted Colston Loveland was 121.9. So that guy, you want to talk about Aman, who said earlier that tight ends are receivers, especially in this NFL. That dude is a receiver in a tight end's body, and his ability to block is pretty damn good too. And oh, by the way, like their 2nd tight end is Cole Kmet, who was a 1st-round pick. And like would be a starter in half of the league as a receiving option. So I love this unit. Xavier Thomas is a guy to watch. He's a guy the Bears they drafted 3rd round, and some people had 6th and 7th round grades on him. But when you put the tape on, I know Ben Johnson loves tape more than about anybody when he sees potential. That guy could be one of those scary guys that I think is a late bloomer in the second half of the season. And then Khalif Raymond, of course, the Bears snagged from Detroit. Everyone looks at him as more of a returner, but I would not be surprised if the Bears use him as a third or fourth receiver as well. But in terms of the unit, I'll sit there for argument's sake and put him at third, but there's a lot of I like that line about buying stock. I'm buying stock in the Bears receivers.
And I met Colston at an event last year, and he's a unit. In person, I don't even have to look at the stats. I was like, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna get in that Ben Johnston offense. And I mentioned to him, I think I dropped a comment, and it's like something about blocking, and he said, "Oh yeah, I got that under control." I said, "Right." I said, "You better, because Ben Johnson is gonna get in your butt if you don't." So he did fantastic last year. So I'm just saying he's a guy. Just seeing him in person, I was like, yeah, they drafted a good player out of Michigan. So there you go.
Boom.
So we're going to give the Vikings the best wide receiver in the division right now. Lions will come a close second, and then those who also ran.
Was that hard for you, Trevor? Was that hard?
No. Hey, man, I got to be objective. I mean, you got to tell the truth here. We're here to tell the truth. And the truth is, this next position might be the one that's the most hotly debated of all of them. Best tight end. You guys were all already jumping all over the tight ends in this division. Sam Laporta, coming off of back surgery. You got to wonder where he is. Nobody wants to be coming off of back surgery and playing NFL football. But the dude is elite, ranked number 5 at the position in that ESPN poll right now. Tucker Kraft, I love that guy. I was looking for him in all my fantasy leagues last year. Love what he's got. But to your point, Aman, he's coming off an injury right now. TJ Hawkinson, loved him when he was here in Detroit. Didn't know what they were doing, trading the guy out of town. And then, Ryan, you were just talking about Colston and Cole. I mean,
they knew
those
they had
guys are
Laporta waiting at Iowa. That's what they knew.
So, yeah, very, very, very deep position in this division right now. I really do like Sam Laporta when he's healthy. He's the number 1 tight end in yards after first contact. He's the number 1 tight end in yards after the catch right now coming into this season.
Blocker.
He does it all. He's got great hands. The guy has an elite skill set. But coming off of back surgery, I'm just really, really concerned about what level he's going to be at and for how long coming into the season. I want you guys to obviously chime in about your guy right now, but make a case of talking me out of there's someone better right now than Sam Laporta if he's healthy.
Yeah, I'll start first because I can't, because my tight end's coming in off a knee injury. So I say healthy-wise, he's the best. He's good. He can match up against Laporta health-wise, but they're both injured right now. You got an ACL with Tucker, and you got a back injury with Porta. But when healthy, they both do the same thing. They run routes, they catch the ball, they get downfield, they're gonna block. Off the ball, they're gonna block. And then obviously, only edge I give to my guy is the fact that he can then go in the quarterback position and do the tush push. He could do tight end reverses. He has a little bit more ability, but for a tight end and what I learned from the University of Nebraska, what a tight end looks like and does, he's all of that. And I think between Iowa, and I think this is widely known, Iowa has the trademark on between tight ends and defensive ends. And what they put out over the last 15 or 20 years. It's ridiculous, which is fantastic for that university, that every now and then one of the 32 gets to pick a tight end or rusher, edge rusher out of that school that knows how to do their job, and they become pro bowlers right off the jump. Because when I remember seeing Laporta come in, my biggest thing was I was a little worried about his speed, but it doesn't matter when he could do the blocking and then still get open, at times when Goff is down there and he got time to throw the ball. So for me, I know, like I said, other than Tucker, I say if Tucker was healthy, I'm all the place, number 1. But no, he's coming in off the injury. He has to obviously show where he's at. He's going to do that. But I'll say I say in the division, healthy, he's 1, but he's not. So I can't put him at 1. I want to, but I just can't because of the injury. But
I'll put my guy at 1.
I'll say, yeah, there you go. 2.
I'll put my guy at 1. Because we're not talking about health. You're talking about back surgeries. We're talking about knees.
Right.
Colton
because we got to wait and find out. That's all.
100%.
It's a weather thing. You got to wait and find out what the forecast is going to be on the injuries, because I had a back spasm in college. I know how that is no fun. I didn't have surgery like Laporta, but I know it takes you down and dropped me down to my knees where I had to get carried back to the training room. So I know how that feels. So, and then ACL, I had a torn quad. It's all about what the rehab was like and getting back on that field day one, whenever they release you, because it's up to the team to say to, unlike Micah, where I guess he kind of could do what the hell he wants to do, but Tucker is kind of because it's a knee, and people know how knees are, could be finicky, it could come back no problem, or it could come back with little knick-knack injury, stuff like that. So they have a time clock on him, so it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out of that.
Well, you heard Aman talk about seeing Colson Loveland in person. I've obviously seen him in person, and yeah, like he's a specimen. 64 targets the final 10 weeks of the regular season. Ben let him kind of grow into the position to the point where people in Chicago were talking about this guy was drafted 10 overall. No one's asking that question anymore. The last 4 games, including playoffs, here's his targets: 10, 13, 15, 10.
That's sick.
Guy, yeah.
For a rookie.
For a rookie. And then
that's sick.
2 games in the playoffs, he had 25 targets. Yeah, so he broke a record. I mean, think about the great tight ends that have played in this league. He broke a receiving record for a rookie, 8 catches, 137 in the win over Green Bay. So the fact that no one had ever done that blew my mind, and that Colston Loveland's already breaking records in year 1. And I think we all know the projections of him. I think in this offense, I told you what Caleb's quarterback rating over 120 when he targeted him last year. He led the Bears in receiving yards, and he had 18 targets through 5 games. So I can only imagine, I would look at him to be the favorite to lead the Bears in receiving yards by default this year. So this is as good as it gets for a division overall, in my opinion. Certainly from a tight end position. TJ Hawkinson, half the teams in the league would line up for that guy.
Exactly.
And the fact
Again,
that
coming off an injury too, though.
Yeah, but I'm making more of the point that the fact that TJ Hawkinson's being talked about as the 4th best tight end in the division tells you how strong the position really is.
True.
Yeah, and I do think that if Hawkinson had good quarterback play, which kind of just goes for everybody, but all the numbers were so cratered last year by the quarterback play. But he has been, at times in his career, one of the top 5 receiving tight ends, where I think the other guys in the division have an edge on Hawkinson, as they're probably all better blockers overall. But Hawkinson does have some downfield ability. I think Loveland is probably the top guy because he could go downfield. But Tucker Kraft, yards after catch, is as good as it comes for a tight end in the NFL. And Laporta, to me, is the ultimate possession tight end. I just, over the middle, on time, on point with Jared Goff. I mean, this has to be the best division by 50 miles when it comes to tight ends in the NFL. So I'll be interested to see how it all ends up playing out and where we all finish with this, because I do think if you look at the way Kyler Murray used Trey McBride, he really rested on McBride over and over again with those underneath passes. And we could see that again, because that was similar to how Kirk used TJ Hawkinson when he was a Pro Bowler. So I wouldn't completely count Hawkinson out, because I think the talent is there, and that this offense sets up for pushing defenses back with the great wide receivers and opening up space underneath. But I don't think he's on the same level as the other 3.
And the group in Chicago, I mean, Cole Kmet. I mean, you're not getting that type of 2. Those 2 guys are going to be on the – and you know how Ben likes to use the tight end, the 12 personnel. And they drafted another guy from Stanford, Sam Rouse. So Caleb was on he might have been on Aman's podcast. He was on someone's podcast, Max Crosby, and they were talking about the twosome at tight end. And Caleb goes, well, you don't even know. You're not even mentioning the other guy. Wait till you see Sam Rouse. So Ben in tight ends, but the fact that the Bears are lining up 2 first-rounders, I think it's really hard to argue against that.
I'm also, you mentioned Trey McBride. He was playing under Drew Petzing when he was putting up his numbers and became an all-pro, and now he's going to work with Sam Laporta. And Trey McBride sent a text to Sam saying, you're going to love this guy. He's going to be great for your career. So I'm really hoping that Sam is able to take advantage of that, be on the field, and get it done. But even if he is, I think he might take a backseat to your guy when you start talking about those numbers in Chicago, Ryan. This kid, if they're throwing the ball to him like that down the stretch, and he was in his rookie season, and he's healthy, and he's got Cole Kmet you got to look after as well. The sky's the limit for this guy. So we're going to give the tight end the edge to the guys in Chicago right now as we move this thing along. And congrats to you on getting a category there, Ryan, in Chicago. We'll see moving along. You might get another one here. But right now is where the show picks up some speed, because there's not another running back in the division or really in the league that's going to touch what Jahmyr Gibbs is bringing to the table right now. He's a FanDuel odds-on favorite for the Offensive Player of the Year coming into this season right now. Bijan takes second place to him in the odds. in the ESPN poll, Bijan was ranked number 1, and Jahmyr was ranked number 2. This guy, another guy, I would pay cash money to see play. 39 touchdowns since he came into the league. Kid is just simply fantastic. You can use him in space. You can give him the ball up the middle. He can do what he wants, create his own. There's just not a better running back in this division than maybe all of football.
No argument here.
Yeah.
That's why I say this is where we pick up some speed right here. We move things along. You got a guy who might not play. We're going to find out about that too.
Like you said, might not. I'm not banking on that. He's going to play. And when he plays, he's a dude. He's a problem. He brings the balance to the force as we talk. I'm going to reference my Star Wars love right there.
Aman, he got honorable mention. He didn't even get ranked in the top 10. Honorable mention in that.
It's a list. I'm a former player.
It's a list.
Do we care about this?
No. You get player credit right here. You get street cred right there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, he is.
But Ryan, you made a point earlier about the running back position before we got on the air in regards to this guy.
Yeah, I'd say after Jahmyr Gibbs, Ahman Green would be my pick for best running back in this division.
But after Josh, that's because I'm 50 now.
Well, hang on. About 20 to 20. I'm putting Ahman Green on the list. If you're asking me to get a guy in the red zone, like in the division, red zone wise, it's Josh Jacobs.
I do have a nose for that. I do have a nose for that.
Trust me, I know you won me some fantasy games. So,
well, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, but Josh Jacobs' ability to find the end zone is unlike anybody else in this division when he plays. So, from if I'm going to lean on that, I would definitely you can't even bet him for an anytime touchdown because the value in betting that game by game, talking about FanDuel, is so high. Because what was it, like 17 straight games with a touchdown with the Packers with Josh Jacobs? That's unheard of. So, but in terms of who am I paying to watch, Jahmyr Gibbs is so much damn fun that it's hard. I'm not going to debate that in Chicago. I like Kyle Monungai's a fun guy, and they're kind of like a poor man's
backup. That's crazy.
I know they're a poor. I think the Bears have a poor man. A poor man. They wouldn't like to hear this, but it's a poor man's. What are they? Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah.
Sonic. What they call them in Green or in Detroit?
Yep, Sonic and Knuckles. Yep.
Yeah,
Sonic
I
and
think
Knuckles.
they're like the cheap, the knockoff version of Sonic and Knuckles.
But to my point, okay, we don't have the speed factor, right? He don't have the blazing speed like your guy, like Gibbs. I'm not saying that, but Ronnie mentioned the touchdown rate per game, but then just in certain situations, he's able to do everything what a running back needs to do, right? Catch the ball, block, get downfield. He's not going to have an 80-yard run. He's going to probably have the 60, 50-yard runs. I'm okay with that as a player and as a coach. But, when you have certain situations, you give him the ball, somehow he comes out on top. Not saying that Jahmyr is up. So I'm saying that's my jab in terms of getting you to look at this backfield. He has a young guy behind him, Marshawn Lloyd, who is solid. He's not a game changer, but he's a guy who keeps that defense. I like the mix because they're two different styles. When you have Josh go in there, do his thing, he comes out, take a break, get a rest or whatever. Marshawn comes in, and then it's another speed they have to now adjust to. And then finally, he'll get a couple big plays before Josh back on the field. Then that speed changes again, and now you have a defense kind of reeling, trying to figure out, okay, who's in there now first before we figure out try to stopping them. Is it Josh? Is it Lloyd? That right there was a good combination to see throughout the year for my backfield. But for Detroit, I know, like I said, between the speed and between the smash and dash that was going on there, they still have a little bit of that going on. They have that edge, but Green Bay, Josh Jacobs, Lloyd, and crew, they have a nice little backfield that can not only do a lot, but do everything. I mean, a lot being defined by everything between pick up the blitz, run the ball up the middle, short yardage, run screen plays, things like that. They can do. I've seen them all do it, both of them, and so that for me, whereas it's going to definitely challenge pushing, being number one in this division in terms of running back position.
You think he's going to be available? You think?
I feel for me, from what I haven't heard nothing. I know what's going on. I know the situation. I always think forward. I always think positive. He's going to be out there game one. Preseason, it's been cut down anyway. I'm like, well, how many games do we have this year? Like 2 preseason games? I run into these guys and I'm like, bro, we have 4. I say we have 4 preseason games and training camp was 2-a-days where we were hitting. By day 7, that was our 14th day of pads. Like, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could talk about. But for what they have to do, one at the running back position can, I say, match up with what Detroit does because of little attributes that both running backs can do, Josh and Marshawn, and then the backups, the young guys coming in off the bench.
I will just say this. The Vikings have no argument for this, but is there a better division historically if you have Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Adrian Peterson, and Ahman Green as your backfield? Is there a better division? Is there a better
embarrassment of riches
history for the backfield?
Run those names down one more time. That's like music to your ears. Just play that again. Spin that again, Matthew.
Right. I mean, Barry Sanders.
NFC East.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Barry Sanders, most unstoppable big play threat ever. Walter Payton, most complete running back ever. Adrian Peterson, most untackleable freak monster show ever. And Ahman Green, again, one of the great all-around running backs in NFL history. I don't know if you could put up another division against this one.
Maybe the NFC East, maybe, because they got Riggo, they got Emmett, and who else is left in there? You got Riggo with the Redskins, you got Emmett with the Cowboys. Yeah,
I mean, Saquon, is he in there for the Eagles?
Maybe he's not done. It's not a finished.
I don't know if the Eagles have had a good enough running back ever historically to put them up with these guys.
This is NFC
No,
North.
you're right.
This is a different animal.
You're
Those
right.
guys you listed right there.
Here,
Right
all
off the
prime
top,
leading
you're right
rushers.
there, man.
2, 4, 5, and 39. Case closed.
Right.
That's
there
crazy.
you go. I like
2,
it.
4,
That's
5,
crazy.
and 39.
That's crazy.
All time.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Hey,
Congrats
black
on
and
a
blue. Like
fantastic
Chris Berman,
career, Ahman.
he named
Seriously,
the
dude.
division perfectly. Black and blue for a reason. And we knew, like, I knew this day one. When I got traded there, I already knew, like, okay, we're in Midwest weather. We're playing in 2 domes, and then one's outside, and the field is trash. It comes November, which is Chicago, Ryan. You need to.
It's trash in August.
Oh my God. It's gonna be smashed. It's gonna be grinded out. I mean, I grew up in Nebraska, so the only TV that we could get was either Vikings or Broncos in Kansas City. That was the football that we could watch in Omaha, Nebraska growing up. Okay, so I was watching a lot of NFC North. Okay, I was watching Packers, Vikings, Detroit Lions, and Bears. Okay, because it was just at that time Kansas City was, you know, they had
Christian Okoye, was that what it was?
Christian.
Oh,
I was watching Christian. That was it.
Dude.
Denver, they had. I mean, TD was playing when I was playing. He was the older guy. I was the younger guy. I had to stop wearing his jersey. I said, I can't wear his jersey no more. I'm playing in the league now. I can't wear 30 no more. It's the other another 30. I gotta wear my 30 now. It was just that is an interesting stat to see that for this division. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Matthew, good pick right there, guy.
Good job.
Nice. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, I thought that was going to move the show along, but we got deep in the weeds on that one. So, you know what? This is also going to be another tough pick right here, and it's going to help us wrap up the show. But we're going to finish with the best head coach in the division. I think every team in the division has a claim for that. I'm going to go with my guy simply because I'm going to go back to that. We're looking for our 3rd division title in the last 4 years. We're back-to-back division winners. Dan Campbell gets a ton of respect across the league. Dan Campbell gets a ton of love here in the city. I know each of your coaches do as well. Ben Johnson, he's the new flavor of the day. But I'm going to stick with my guy right now and say Dan Campbell is, for now, the best head coach in this division.
I'm not going to argue that. I'll be real. I'm not going to argue that. And I got 2 games to prove it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? You can't be aggressive and do something. You're up 21 points. You're supposed to put the nail in the coffin. I know Matt personally. He coached when I was at the Texans. And he's a football player himself. He knows. I don't know who's calling plays at that time. But you got to end the game. You got to make sure that other team has no light. You give a team like the Bears the way they were rolling last year. When they saw that much of light, they was like, we still in it. Let's go. We got one play done. Boom. Now let's do the next play. Then the next play, then boom, you tie it up and all that. So you just got to understand, are you overthinking it as a coach? Because I've coached football. I've coached high school football. I coached track. You got to get to a point where you don't say to yourself, you know what, let's try this out. No. we're going to do stuff that works. Gets the ball down the field, if it's running or passing the ball, and that's what they went away from in those situations. And so for me, I'm looking at Matt like, come on, don't overthink it. It's not rocket science. When you have a team down, finish them off, know the plays that you need to call to finish off the game. And so for me right there, that's where I'm not putting them at the bottom, but I'm definitely your guy, between your guy who basically worked with the other guy. That's where Ryan's got. Mm-hmm. I'm fighting between what Matt's going to say for Kevin in Minnesota. So I'm going to put Matt down at 3 only because of those games where sometimes, not even the Bears games too, there were some other game situations where it's like, come on, finish it, because you got to have, because then it filters over to the players. When the players smell it and see it, like, man, coach, we got play. What are we doing now? Offensively or defensively, but really more offense because that's where Matt lies. So what are we doing now? Hold up, we need to throw a deep ball, or we need to go for it on 4th and 1 and shut this game down. When you have that not happening, where it's question marks or hesitation in play calling, it's tough. So for me, that's where I'll put my man Matt, good dude. But I like Mr. Gamble and I like Ben Johnson right now because they are cooking with fire and they understand how to get in their players' heads to get out there and play ball. Because it's football and it's not rocket science. It's not working at NASA. It's going to the trenches, looking at X and O's and who's going to win on this play. We're going to call this play to get the victory, and it's game over. We shut them down. So good job. I can't fight in this one. Just stating my facts on this one. So my guy LaFleur is at I'll say number 3, other than what Matt have to say about Kevin.
Well, Ryan's guy chirped your guy too at the end of last season, so he's got that to live down too.
Yes.
Well, I think my thing would be, do I get to count Brian Flores in this? Because I think that the Vikings have the best combination of offensive mind and defensive mind, because I would put Brian Flores at the number 1 defensive coordinator in the entire NFL. His creativity.
Yes.
And I mean, when you look at your lists, those top 10s, Vikings don't have a single player on there, and yet they were a top 10 defense last year in yards per drive, points per drive, all those categories, top 10 in sacks. But their leader in sacks only had 8, and yet they were a top 10 sack team, top pressure team every single year, most aggressive defensive coordinator in the league. So I think nobody has gotten more out of his talent over the last 3 years than Brian Flores, and he'll continue to do that. On the offensive side, it really comes down to having a consistent quarterback for Kevin O'Connell, that I think if there's one thing that's held him back, it's probably been that. In the seasons where he's had his quarterback, they have been top-notch passing offenses. And I also think the coverages that they get are very unique. I think there's a lot of challenges that are created, and O'Connell is able to sift through that. And we've also seen, too, his connection with his quarterbacks, like how those two meld together with Sam Darnold and with Kirk Cousins, was as good of coaching as you've seen one coach of the year in 2024. I think that his stock is down, and I think the pressure is up because of what happened with Sam Darnold going to Seattle and winning the Super Bowl. But I think when all things are equal, if Kevin O'Connell had Jared Goff or Caleb Williams or Jordan Love and this offense and this passing game system, I think you would really see how he could maximize it all. And I also think when we talk about this too, he is a coach that the players consistently vote as a top coach in the league, regardless of whether they've had winning or losing seasons, which I think says a lot about him from a culture perspective. So I would say this combination would be the strongest in the division. I don't know if you could say O'Connell right now is more hot than Ben Johnson, who might be the league's hottest coach. And I'll let Ryan remind you of how good Dan Campbell was when he had Ben Johnson by his side and how that may have changed when Ben Johnson wasn't there. But that's my case for the Vikings' best coaching staff.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep. Good case.
Yeah,
good
very
case.
good case.
Very good case. Very solid.
I'll preface this by saying these 4 head coaches are 4 of the top 10 in the league. So again, this is like the tight end thing again.
Yeah, absolutely is.
I agree.
Like most of the teams would salivate at the opportunity for one of these guys to be fired because they would line up first and hire this guy. I'm gonna lean on Aman, and it's not a Bears Packers thing, but like there was talks as soon as that Bears game finished about LaFleur being fired, which I thought was ridiculous and very like in the moment immediate shock jock reaction. But his his ability to win in the regular season is different than his inability to win in the postseason. I think that closing games thing, there's a lot of questions there. I mean, as a Bears fan watching that playoff game, I'm sitting there going, even knowing that the Bears had the ability to come back, like, this doesn't feel right. Not in the playoffs. I'm going to rank LaFleur fourth, but it's like, again, top 10 coach in the league. So I'm going to go LaFleur 4. Dan Campbell from if that guy came into my living room to recruit my son, I would already have the pen. I'd have the pen in my hand. I would just be like, yeah, I know you'll take care of this guy, and I know he's going to give you everything he's got. I'm going to rank him 3. Kevin O'Connell's ability to turn these like journeyman quarterbacks into playoff teams and something is something I can't deny that. And it's not his fault that he doesn't have one of the big 3 quarterbacks in the division. I would be curious to see what it would be like if he ever did. But yeah, there's speculation. Like, there's some question marks as to like why Darnold walked for JJ, et cetera. So I'll rank him 2, and I'll be biased in this case. I mean, this good, better, best thing probably got sick. You guys probably got sick and tired of hearing it in the division.
My wife's a Bears fan, so trust me, I hear it a lot.
The Bears have never been third in this category, ever. The Bears, maybe going back to Ditka, okay? Maybe that's where the Bears would have had a conversation about coaches. Lovey was good, but he had a blind spot for offense. And it was part of the ego / arrogance that got in his way of being great. And I think Ben has let Dennis Allen, like, you're a former head coach. This is your defense, but I'm going to step in when I need to. No one has commanded a room in Chicago in the last 25 years like Ben Johnson has. True. That guy walked into the room and everything from the secretary to the 53rd man on the roster bought in. And that's what's different about the Bears right now. That head coach, it's top down for the first time in almost my entire life, and I'm 46 years old. This is the first time where you walk into Hallis Hall and everybody believes you can win. Every single person. And I'm not talking about win on Sunday. I'm talking about putting a Lombardi trophy in the case. And I don't know how it's going to lead this year. Health and schedule, etc. Put all that aside because we're going to assume health is fine. And you line up and you play on Sunday. The Bears have a really good opportunity to get out in front of their schedule before the bye week, and it gets really tough in the second half, a lot of division games. But that room believes in that guy. And that guy, in 12 months, changed the entire narrative of Caleb Williams. It's not just the narrative, but the talent and where that guy's going. Is he an MVP candidate? Absolutely. Is he going to win the MVP in 2026? I don't think so. But the fact that we're talking about him in the conversation tells you how much impact that guy has had on that team. And when you have that coach with that quarterback combination, you can go all the way. So Ben Johnson, I think in 12 months, has shown he's a top 5 coach in this league and could be the number 1 coach in the league in 2, 3, 4 years. So I'm going Ben Johnson number 1 in the division.
Well
get
said,
some sway in that argument. When I look back at the historical turnaround, and I look back at what happened in Detroit without him, they hired another offensive coordinator, had to move him aside. Play calling when Dan took over wasn't the same. There was something missing, and maybe that something missing can be found in Chicago.
I will say this.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff, Ryan. Very, very persuasive guy.
The Lions were 2-0 against the Bears last year.
They were, though. They were. There is that.
But that's
there is only one coach who I have seen kind of solve Brian Flores, and that's Ben Johnson. So I would probably put him at the top from that perspective.
Ben Johnson's getting a lot of love right here. And you know what? Chicago needs some love. They deserve some love. They are the reigning division champions.
They are.
They do have, coming into training camp, the best head coach in the division, given that fact. Ryan, great job.
Good job, Ryan.
Great job, Ryan. Great job. But the odds-on favorites, according to FanDuel, say the Detroit Lions are the number 1 team in the division. They are plus 145, followed by the Packers at plus 270, the Bears at 310, and the Vikings at 500. It's going to be hotly contested on the field. I'm not closing the door on the Vikings as a surprise team this year at all. I'm fading the Packers for a number of reasons we've already discussed. This division is up for grabs. It's going to start from week 1. It's going to be brought out. It's going to the blood's going to get churning in training camp. they're going to be frothing at the mouth for this season to start up. And we're all looking forward to that Thanksgiving Day game with the Bears here in Detroit. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Guys, this is great stuff. We've got enough time for each of you to have one thought around the horn about whatever's on your mind as we close this show looking at the best players and best team in the NFC North. Take it away, reigning division champion.
Hey, might as well. There you go.
I'll say that the respect for this division league-wide has changed. I think that this division has gone from one of the, maybe 2 or 3 worst to one of the 2 best year in and year out. And I think it's because of what we just talked about. Those 4 coaches have commanded those rooms, and the leadership that's in each of those practice facilities shows on Sunday. There's good quarterback play and Minnesota has a great coach, and because of that, they have good quarterback play. So I think for a lot of reasons, all eyes should be on the North. I think they could have 3 playoff teams this year. And quite frankly, you can make that case the last couple of years. And going forward with these head coaches and these quarterbacks and what Minnesota could do or turn Kyler Murray into, I think it's going to go down to the wire. It always does in this division. I don't know who's going to come out on top. I have the Bears at 11-6, Trevor, when we did it our last podcast together. 11-6 doesn't guarantee you a division title in this division when 15-2 won it a few years ago. So this division's fantastic. I can't wait to watch all of these teams play each other twice a year, because the best football in the NFL to me is played right here.
I think Ryan is maybe the most excited of us to see football start to get played, so he could stop hearing the word regression over and over with the Chicago Bears. I'll just say this about the Vikings, that the circumstances that they can give Kyler Murray are so insanely different than what he had in Arizona, who I think is one of the worst franchises in the NFL. And they're not funny. Like, the Browns are funny and the Jets are funny, but they're just as incompetent over recent years. So the other thing, too, is that there's nothing that I enjoy more in sports than when everybody counts somebody out and then they find a way to prove everybody wrong. So I think Kyler's very motivated to be that guy. Sam Darnold was that guy at one point. So I think there's a chance of it. The Vikings deserve to have, I think, the preseason FanDuel be 4th and all the skepticism, but it would be a really, really good story if Kyler Murray could sort of show that he was that guy, that number 1 pick, that Heisman, and what everybody expected him to be.
Nice. And I say, to your point there, Matthew, it'll then add another notch in O'Connell's belt on being a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
That get another guy that has some years under him, that actually is a Pro Bowler previous, but then was able to get him year 1 and work his magic, just like Darnold and just like Kirk Cousins did. So for the division, for me, again, we're back to the black and blue. I love it. I mean, I was a part of this division. I was a player sitting in this division. I remember going to Minnesota when they're leading the division, punching them in the mouth and be like, hey, take that to the playoffs, things like that. So those are the type of games we're going to have seeing here. We start the season with the Vikings in Minnesota too. So it's going to be interesting there for us coming in, knowing that the tight end is obviously injuries there, and then waiting for Micah. That's going to be the biggest thing. But I say overall, I love this division. I told my wife for years on end, being a Bears fan, I said, babe, the only difference between what the Bears are doing and what all the other teams are doing in this division is right now they don't have nobody that's in the players' heads telling them that they could go out there and win football games. That's it. I said, they have the talent. They have 1%ers on that Chicago roster. They just don't have upper management and then a coach that tells them every day that you're good. And I'm gonna put you in the positions to win. And then they got it. And I told her, she's like, you were right. I'm like, right. I said, I wasn't, sugar. I'm not trying to, be a Packer guy all day. No, I gotta look at facts. Ben Johnson came in, changed the whole outlook of things in Chicago in that locker room. Once he did that, I said, NFC, we have a problem. Because not only is Dan Gamble is doing his thing in Detroit, now his apprentice has went over to the dark side and then took them and made them a fist where they could punch people in the mouth and come out with wins. So my guy LaFleur, O'Connell in Minnesota, wraps up a division that is very stout, that is you're gonna play a game against any of these teams, and it's gonna be a 4-quarter game. And that's what I like to see, being a former player and being a fan in general. I just want to see a 4-quarter game where both teams are giving it all they got, and that's what we're going to see with NFC North teams. And so from the balance of offense to defense and, guys like, potential Hall of Famers later, like Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, to guys like Laporta, tight end in Detroit, you have a dude at a position that's going to show up and play ball. So the fun thing for me is I get to watch these kids on Sundays, and I enjoy it. We get to talk about it during the week, but then I get to watch them. And like, I used to do that, not that fast, like Jahmyr Gibbs. That boy can move. but overall, it's going to show like where teams are. It's going to be interesting to see this first game against Minnesota in Minnesota with the Kyler Murray and the Packer defense and what they're going to do to try to, because Kyler, he can move still. He can get out that pocket. He uses his legs. So that's going to be interesting to see what that Gannon defense is going to try to stop. And so I say this defense, obviously, definitely respect notches have went up, over the years. Flores in Minnesota, I forgot. I mean, really, it took me a minute there. When we first started, I was like, oh, right, I forgot he's there. He's the defensive caller there. So he's Bill Belichicking guys. He's basically taking their best assets away. And so when you have coaching like this in a division, I know for me, just like an athlete, I'm gonna step up and show my best. Matt LaFleur got to come in and be like this. All right, I got outcoached in certain games last year. In these games last year, he knows those games. Nobody has to remind him. He should know those games. And now say, hey, I got to step it up a notch. I got to call these plays. I cannot not be hesitant or whatever. If it's anxiety or something like that, if it's competition anxiety or anything like that, you got to knock that out the door, because you got to come play just like the players are playing on, executing on the football field, and make sure you put them in the right positions to go out there and win. Because if you don't, you have the result what we saw last year in terms of the Packers and the losses they had out there on the football field. So, because they even had the debacle in Cleveland too, where I'm watching that whole game and I'm like, what is going on? It was some unfortunate plays, right? But it still was play calling involved too, because coaches call the play, we execute, they put the game plan together, and then the players go out there and do the execution to make the plays work. And if they didn't work, they didn't. So overall, great division. It's going to be fun to watch. And then, for my team here, hey, we got the talent. Let's just go out there and we just got to find out day one. Once we get through this training camp, and then obviously see who comes out healthy in training camp, because we already know first week, which is starting now, it's going to be a ton of injuries for everybody around the league. Guys going to be gone for the season, but we wait to see on that, and then look forward to that Minnesota game.
If I were Matt LaFleur, this is how I'd start training camp in the meeting room. Everyone sits down. I don't even get in front of the room. I turn the lights off. I show the Bears' final touchdown, the final incompletion on 4th down, and Caleb Williams sitting on the Amazon set grating cheese. Right. I'd turn the lights on. I'd say, let's get out there. That's it.
Exactly.
No message else. That's it.
That's all I need right there. They got me. They got me. I'm fired up on that. Shoot.
There's a coaching job waiting out there for you somewhere, Ryan.
Oh, I tried too myself. I got told no.
Very well said, guys. Very well said. FanDuel has the Lions as the odds-on favorite in the division. NFL experts give them the nod as the most talent across the board in the league, but they've got to get it done on the field against some very stiff competition in the NFC North. And I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait for week 1. I can't wait for Thanksgiving when the Bears roll into town. This is going to be a lot of fun all season long. And you guys here to debate it with me, I really appreciate all of you and all your time here today. I know our audience is going to love this show. Everybody be sure to click and like, be sure to subscribe and enjoy and share this episode of Believe in Lions. For the great Ahman Green, for Ryan McGuffey in Chicago and Matthew Coller in Minnesota, thank you very much, guys. I'm Trevor Thompson, thanking all of you for listening, and enjoy this episode of Believe in Lions. Can't wait for week 1. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you soon.